Hi, Linda Brown here from StampingWithLinda.com, your cardiologist since 1997, helping you create cards from the heart. Today is Friday, so tips and techniques. And my tips and techniques today is going to be using the Vellum cardstock. I have not used this Vellum cardstock for a really long time, and there's some tricks when you go to use it. So I'm going to share some fun things to do with it. I am going to be using my wintry 3D embossing folder. I've got my Vellum. I've also got my Glimmer specialty paper. This is in the mini catalog. It comes in the evening evergreen, an off-white and a gold. And I've got a piece of my soft succulent cardstock that I'll be using for my card base. But first off, we are going to be using that Vellum, and we are going to emboss the Vellum, and we are going to use the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So we're going to put that Vellum in there, and well, it's sticking. I guess it really doesn't matter that it's crooked, because I'm just going to be using the pine boughs. So we're going to run that through our machine. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to color our Vellum. Now, I find that coloring on the back side of the Vellum works the best. Can look really messy when you're coloring that Vellum, but you get a really soft, opaque look on the back side. I'm going to use my blending brush. We could be using our stamping blends for this also. So again, the evening evergreen. I'm going to get that blending brush, and I'm really going to add a lot of color to the back so that it'll show through. And even though you've got like blotches, it will not show on the front side. We're just going to get a really soft looking green. But when you're using Vellum, Vellum can be very tricky when you go to adhere it to your projects, because the adhesive has a tendency to show through. So this is one of my tips. I'm going to take my heat tool, and I just want to make sure that ink is good and dry. So we've got that. Next, what I'm going to bring in is my adhesive sheets. Now, I want to make sure that this adhesive sheet really sticks well to my Vellum. So I'm just going to burnish to make sure that that adhesive is sticking well. We're going to remove the paper using my pick tool kind of to lift that up. Now this piece is 2 by 5, so I cut my adhesive sheet just a 1/8 of an inch smaller, because I don't want to run that adhesive off of my Vellum. But by using your adhesive sheets, this is a great way to add adhesive to your Vellum and not be able to see it. So we're just adding that right to the back of that Vellum. And I'm also going to go in and I want to burnish the back of that, because I want to make sure that that adhesive adheres good to the Vellum. I'm just going to run that back and forth with my bone folder. Sorry if you hear a motor in the background. The neighbor has decided to fire up his car with the loud mufflers and take off right in front of my stamp room. So you get a little bit of noise there. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a piece of that soft succulent. This measures 3 3/4 by 5, and I've already taken one piece of the Vellum and put it on this side. But what I'm doing is just making a corner border. Now you want to be careful when you're picking this up because like I said, you don't want to pick it up too fast because you want to make sure that that adhesive sticks to the back of the vellum. So you're just going to pull it apart slowly. I also have my silicone mat that I'm going to adhere this to. So if part of this paper is going to go off of my cardstock and I don't want it sticking to my table, so I find using that adhesive sheet works real well. So I'm going to grab the other piece. Again, if you use multi-purpose glue, you can, if you use a sponge, add your adhesive to the back of your vellum paper and not see it. But I have never used the sticky paper before on the back of the vellum, and it really works well. You do not see those adhesive on the other side. So we're just going to add this piece. I want to make sure I cut my catch my corners like so. I'm going to burnish that down onto the paper. I'm going to bring in a pair of scissors and I'm going to trim off the excess. Now I'm going to use this excess in the inside of my card. So we're just going to cut that off. I'm going to stick it up here on my blends rack so that I know where it's at. Now we are going to add this to the front of our card. We're going to be using that Glimmer. I'm going to go ahead and use my Stampin' Seal Plus on the back of my Glimmer. But when I take my paper, my cardstock, and adhere it on top of the Glimmer. Another tip with the Glimmer, adhesive has a hard time sticking to that, so I like to use my multi-purpose glue when going on to my Glimmer. Let's get that going. I have been using my multi-purpose glue more than I used to, finding that it's very kind when I make a mistake and need to move back and forth. Just very forgiving, but I really like it on the Glimmer paper. So we're going to add that like so. I have already taken someplace here on my desk and I am not seeing it. I used the holly dies, holly berry dies, and made a greeting with the Glimmer paper. I'm just going to bring in my finished one so that you can see. I just used the die to cut out the holly, used that Glimmer in the back, and stamped it with the evening evergreen and the to-go-to greeting. So just a fun winter card with tips and techniques for using your vellum. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.